I'm sure you were all there for most of the ceremony. I really want to say to the Chancellor, the Chancellor's not listening to me, but I just really want to say before I begin the scrum, Chancellor, that I thought that was an absolutely terrific ceremony. I thought that you and the President and the others did the university so well. But what was truly impressive were those students who coming up there and the smiles on their face and just the sheer joy. And I really do think that around North Bay tonight there are going to be a lot of parties. I suspect so. And I just want to say that I think Nipissing University is a tremendous, really a tremendous educational institution. What it has done, the results for those kids, and I just want to congratulate you.
Prime Minister, thank you.
All right.
Fantastic. All right, are we ready to go? Okay, Laurel, do you want to start things off?
Well, I was very impressed with your comments about the Aboriginal studies here. What would you say to other universities? What example would you take from Nipissing and mention to another university that they might want to try?
Oh, I would think that things like the certificate for Aboriginal teachers is a classic example of what is needed. There are not enough Aboriginal primary and secondary school teachers in the country. And you can see it on the reserves, you can see it in the public schools. And that Nipissing, which is as one of the great educational institutions in terms of forming teachers, has a special program to deal with that. But also, you'll notice there's a very important underlining of Aboriginal culture, values, and systems. And there's a very senior person on the Nipissing staff whom I had supper with last night, whose main goal is to furtherance of Aboriginal values and cultures within the education system. I think it is that kind of an issue, to understand that you've got to reach out, to understand that Aboriginal history, the history of this country, as I said in my own remarks, the history of this country began long before 1492 or 1534. And there are more and more studies demonstrating that. And there were vibrant societies here. And we as North Americans, we as Canadians especially, had better understand that we are not only of European heritage, but we are of a heritage that goes back to time immemorial. And Nipissing represents that.
Kate?
In those terms, students coming out looking at the future of Canada, what do you want them to know being into that first set part of their career, and how do they define themselves as Canadians with that?
Well, I think that, I don't know if your question is referring to the Aboriginal issue or wider, but let's just deal with both. I would very much hope that they would understand, and I think they do, that we have problems at home, and that while there is poverty, while there are people who are not getting a decent education, while in fact there are people who aren't getting enough to eat abroad, we have that same situation at home. And we're in no position to tell the rest of the world what to do until we in fact do the right thing here. But I would also say to them that this is a very rich country. And I think it was the valedictorian who said that some of them may well go abroad. There's nothing the matter with going abroad. It's a very good thing. It's a good thing to go abroad, to take what they have gathered here at the university, and to come back with some of that knowledge. What I would say to them is it's a very exciting world out there, and the opportunities are absolutely limitless if you're prepared to reach for them. And that's what this is all about.
You were talking in your speech about the fact that there are a lot about the dropout rate for Aboriginals is extremely high, and you blame part of that on the fact that there's a strong lack of funding from the federal government. Elaborate a little bit on that.
Well, in terms of primary and secondary school education, the federal government, which has the responsibility for funding education on reserve, spends anywhere from 20 to 40% less per capita than do the provinces. Ottawa doesn't have a great deal of educational expertise. The provinces do, and the provinces say that you've got to spend a lot more on education in the primary and secondary schools. And if you want the proof of it, go up to some of those schools. And what I would simply say is anybody who challenges that, then let them send their children to a school where they don't have science labs, where the schools don't have guidance counselors, where the schools don't have teachers who have got the same backgrounds as the students who are graduating from here. And the results are seen there in that high dropout rate. And when you add into top of that, they need to play catch up for about 200 years of neglect. There is a massive underfunding, and this is the youngest and the fastest growing segment of our population. And so we have no right to turn our back on it. But economically, it cannot be dumber than to turn your back on the youngest and the fastest growing segment of your population.
Original leaders had also said that, told you that education is key to
I have not
social mobility.
I have not talked to an Aboriginal leader in this country, First Nations, Métis Nation, or Inuit, who hasn't said to me that the single most important priority is the education of the young. And they're right, and we better listen to them.
Jeremy?
Just tell me a little bit about today. I mean, obviously a pretty important day for you yourself personally. How do you feel coming into today and actually looking back?
Oh, it was a great day. It was just a great day. Very relieved after I finished my remarks, and then I had to watch the Chancellor and the President go to work. And it was really fun to hear those kids, as they would call those students, come up and talk about how excited they were, what they were going to do, and then they would talk among themselves while they would wait for the next one to come up. And it's just a great day. And if you believe in this country, I can tell you one of the ways it'll make you feel very proud and very good about the future is to sit up there on that stage and listen to those students.
Lisa?
Your Aboriginal Education Initiative, it's working on reserve to help outcomes for students in primary and secondary school. Do you have any success stories to share?
Well, we're working on and off reserve. We are, in terms of primary schools, focusing primarily on literacy. We're on 2 reserves in southwestern Ontario, and we've been there for 3 years, and the results have been quite dramatic. It goes back to what I really said. There are problems, but if you basically reach out and say, let's work together, let's see if we can solve these problems, I can tell you the leadership in this country, the Aboriginal educational leadership is very, very strong. They want to make it happen, and I think our programs are demonstrating that.
Is there a specific community you want to highlight?
Oh, well, our 2 schools are in Kettle Point and in Walpole Island, those 2 schools. We would like to expand them. Our business courses are right across the country. I'm not going to highlight them. They're all doing well and they're all wonderful.
They're having to pay off.
Well, it is a problem. And in fact, when the Chancellor made a reference to it in his closing remarks, you could see the looks on a number of the students who were sort of saying, yes, we have a debt. That being said, let me tell you that if there has ever been money well spent, it's spent on their education. And I think that they all understand that. But it is an issue. And I've always believed, and I said it was in government, that much more has got to be done in terms of bursaries and these kinds of aids, because you can't have students graduating and feeling indebted for, simply for a decade. But I don't think there's a penny better spent than spent on education as we saw today.
Right.
Okay.